Saints had a bye week. Can we find something to talk about? Well, we do look back on the season up to date here at the Midway, and we talked a little bit about the 5 games to Teddy Bridgewater and how he did. Now that his time as the starter is officially over. More than that on the other side of the intro. Welcome to this episode of New Orleans Fanatic Fever. I am John.
I'm Josh.
Okay, the Saints did not play this week. We get it. It's time to move on to the Atlanta Falcons, but we have a show to do. All right, Joshy boy.
Yes, sir.
What did you think of New Orleans this past eventful 8 weeks?
The Saints look very impressive to me in the past 8 weeks, especially that 5-game stretch without Drew Brees and having Teddy Bridgewater. A lot of people had doubts. A lot of critics and analysts pretty much left this team for dead. And when Drew Brees was out, Stephen A. Smith said the Saints are done. And here we are. We're going into week 10,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And the Saints are, if the playoffs were to start today, the Saints would be a number 2 seed in the NFC, and they're on top of the NFC South with a 7-1 record. So I definitely would say Saints got their money's worth out of Teddy Bridgewater this season.
And I just want to bring up the fact, okay, you look at how Kyle Allen has done in Carolina, and even Gardner Minshew in Jacksonville, and also thinking back to, say, Nick Foles. I think the last few years we have really seen how having a quality backup can be the difference between make and break for your season.
I mean, especially with the Eagles. I mean, Nick Foles was the one who led the Eagles to the Super Bowl as a backup.
Right. But, just with Teddy going 5-0 and all, and even Minshew and his 4-4 record, and I think Kyle Allen is officially 4-1 as the starter, which they did just put Cam Newton on injured reserves. Having a quality backup can really make a difference.
Because, I mean, when your starting quarterback gets hurt, it has to be next man up, and it has to be somebody of, with good quality to him.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to take a little look at Teddy Bridgewater and his what is now officially on the books is a 5-0 start. And then, let's see, he had 1,370 yards off of 132 completions, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a very respectable 98.8% quarterback rating.
What I like about Teddy Bridgewater was his ability to hang on to the ball and be able to manage a game and not turn the ball over. And it really made all the difference for the Saints offense and how the Saints were able to be dominant on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Now, I would definitely have to say that Teddy Bridgewater was very polarizing, especially at first. He seemed to split the fans worse than Coke and Pepsi.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had to throw that in there. But towards the end, and especially after that 5-0 stretch, it seems like the majority of fans really grew in favor of Teddy. They appreciate what he was able to accomplish, or what he was able to help the Saints accomplish. Seeing how they are atop the NFC South at 7-1 now, and or like you said, number 2 in the seedings, and are in a position to potentially take that number 1 seed as the season progresses. I have a few quotes from people. Let's take a look at the first one, and or let's just take a look at all 3 and just get your feedback on that. So the first one is, game manager, he did average. He did well against the Bucs, dead last passing defense. The second half of the Bears game went well. The other games were on defense and special teams. Great job in the games he played. Did everything you would like to see happen, more than I ever thought. When it is determined that Drew is ready to return, Drew will again be the leader of this offense. And then the final one that I have up is, he improved every game he played. The team stepped up on all sides of the ball, especially our defense. They are playing lights out.
Well, with Teddy bringing in Drew Brees' spot while Brees was out with his injury, the defense really did step up. And it was like the defense taking that initiative, knowing they don't have their ace at quarterback. And it gave the defense a lot more motivation in order to try and help Teddy out, in order to put the Saints in position to be successful. With Teddy improving every game, that is also true. I definitely agree with that. At first, we saw Teddy look like he was holding back. He played like he was kind of scared with the ball. I mean, I hate to say it like that. But as the weeks went on, we saw Teddy get a lot more comfortable in the offense. And that's why I love Sean Payton, is how he was able to get Teddy so comfortable in the system and to make the offense something that Teddy could be comfortable in. And that's why I love the Saints franchise. How well they're able to get their players to adapt.
Yeah, I agree. I said I felt that early on Teddy looked a little uncomfortable because he was still trying to run that Drew Brees type of offense where you spread the ball around a lot, but he was more of the short range to intermediate range guy who moved around in the pocket. I think that Sean Payton and Teddy were able to adapt better to an offense. It was still the Saints offense, but it was more adaptable for him to run and be successful in. And of course, that defense was absolutely lights out. All right, that's it on the offense, which is basically our revisiting Teddy Bridgewater. And I don't want to really talk about the Saints offense as a whole because we've only had Drew for 2 games, and then it's a night and day difference between Teddy and Drew.
Knowing that we've been dealing with the injury bug quite a bit.
Yeah, that too. So really seeing how the Saints offense can operate as a whole and when they're all working together cohesively is not yet. However, I do think we are expecting to get back Alvin Kamara and Jared Cook for the Falcons game.
I think that is confirmed that they're coming back. So. Yeah.
Okay, Saints defense up to date. Like a lot of people have said, they have just been absolutely lights out. This is arguably the best defense that I have seen from top to bottom in my entire time being a Saints fan. And from what I understand, what the Dump Patrol is, the best since that era too. So let's talk the Saints defense. Okay, so the Saints defense is averaging a total of 316.5 yards allowed a game. 232 of those are in the pass, 84 of those are rush. They're averaging just under 20 points a game. Not the biggest turnover threat in the league. 3 interceptions to 6 fumbles, but are holding teams to 32% completion, 32% conversion on third downs with I want to say third best 24 sacks on the season.
Now, I remember when the Saints used to be one of the worst teams as far as third down defense. Like, defense couldn't get off the field to save their lives. And when Drew got hurt, you just saw a complete turnaround to where the Saints, almost every time, they're getting off the field on third down and getting the ball back to their offense. And seeing how the Saints defense operated with Drew Brees now back in the lineup against, now granted, this is an Arizona team that's going through a rebuild, but still, I mean, look, this professional football, anything can happen. And so you look at how the defense operated, even when Drew Brees is back in the lineup, they only gave up 9 points. They gave up less than 300 yards total offense against a fairly explosive offense led by Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. And so this Saints defense is going to be very, very dangerous. I don't even think the Saints defense has even reached their peak yet. And that's a scary feeling.
Oh, without doubt, the Saints defense hasn't reached a peak. The Saints as a whole have not reached their peak yet.
That's one of the scariest things, because I mean, you see a lot of these teams that are top of their divisions, they're pretty much at their peak, and so the only way for them is down. I'm also have to give another team credit, San Francisco. I don't even think they're at their peak, and so when the Niners do come to the Dome on December 8th, that it's going to be a war in that Dome.
Week 14. So, I just looking at this. Actually, I just lost my train of thought. we mentioned earlier that we had a little bit of issues with the injury bug, and that has certainly been a problem. Drew Brees obviously is the big one that went down. Losing Jared Cook, Alexander Zaloni is out for the season.
Traquan Smith.
Yeah, Traquan Smith, he's out for a little while longer, and of course Alvin Kamara. Latavius Murray had back-to-back 100 yards receiving games against the Bears defense, and against this past Cardinals, which their defense is not that great, but still, Bears and then the Cardinals, he's really stepped up. Take us on Murray.
Well, Murray's proven why he was signed by the Saints. Murray, he's basically doing what the Saints paid him to do, and that's to be able to get those important yards, to get those big yards for the Saints. Yes, he's not Mark Ingram, but Latavius Murray he's proven to the NFL that he still got it. He's proven that he is a formidable running back. He's proven that he can be a threat in the backfield. And so I've been completely impressed with Latavius Murray, and his performance against the Bears, I'm not going to lie, it shocked me because of how lethal that Bears front seven is. And for Latavius Murray to be able to have his way with that Bears defense really opened my eyes to how deadly Latavius Murray really is at running back and how vital he can be to the success of the Saints offense.
Yeah, and but there is one thing you got to hand it out to the offensive line, and
the offensive line have been playing remarkable.
They've allowed 10 sacks in their games. J.J. Watt was never heard from.
Khalil Mack wasn't
heard from. Calais Campbell was never heard from.
Terrell Suggs wasn't heard from.
So yeah, this offensive line has just been hands down one of the best in the league without question. And talk about the defense again. I'm just looking at some of the numbers here. No surprise that Demario Davis has been the team leader in tackles, 52 combined, 41 solo. But Von Bell, safety, 52 tackles combined, 37 solo, 15 assists, 2 fumbles from the safety position.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I've actually been very impressed with the secondary play. The secondary has gotten a lot more consistent over the past few weeks, and we're starting to see that swagger come back to the defense, that confidence, and it's really adding up to the consistency of the Saints defense. And consistency from the secondary has been something I've been dying to see for the past few years because, the past couple of years, having guys like P.J. Williams and having, Marshawn Lattimore and Von Bell, etc., we know that they're talented. We know that our secondary has been dangerous, but one thing that they've been lacking was consistency. That's something we're starting to see this season, especially over the past few weeks, of how well the Saints have eliminated the deep threat, and how well they've been able to, limit big plays.
Yeah. And now just finally, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming. Forget the Falcons.
That their lost cause. Like, stick to the Hawks and stick to the Braves, y'all.
I want to talk a little bit about Saints free agency, seeing how this. I don't care about the Falcons. They got some choices coming up. Von Bell's going to be a free agent. So is Eli Apple. So is
Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, yeah, all 3 quarterbacks, in fact, are going to be free agents. Hill, Breeze, and Bridgewater. David Amiata. It's like a bunch of guys now that I think about. I can't think of all of them. I know Kamara's going to be eligible for an extension. You also got to think about extending Lattimore at this point. You asked me, okay, would I like to keep someone like Amiata? Yeah, absolutely. But considering the depth that they have on that defensive line and the guys that they have with Tuttle and Granderson and Davenport, losing Aniamata would not.
It wouldn't be detrimental.
It would not be detrimental. To me, the more important thing would be keeping the secondary intact.
Because this is the best I've seen in secondary in a long time. And so keeping this secondary together, I mean, I agree with you, is a complete must.
So I guess the question is, who do you sign, who do you franchise, and who do you let walk?
That's a tough one, considering everybody on this Saints team has definitely pitched into their success leading up to this point. And I mean, honestly, I would have to go back and kind of look, but that would be a tough decision. I think with most of the guys, I mean, guys who truly want to stay in New Orleans, especially when salary cap is getting a little tight from trying to re-sign people, you might want to try and ask a few of them, okay, who wants to get franchised? Would you like to get franchised and then try and get an extension for next season? My fear is that somebody's going to pull a Le'Veon Bell. That's something that I'm kind of fearful of. You got to think about it. Le'Veon Bell got franchised by the Steelers more than once.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And he had enough, and the Steelers wouldn't give him an extension, so he went to the Jets.
Poor decision.
Yes, and I mean, the Steelers, they're not playing their very best right now, but Le'Veon Bell's in a worse decision in New York.
So the Saints have the Falcons coming up out of the bye week. It is officially the rivalry of the South, in my opinion. Yeah, no, Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, this is the 100th meeting between the Saints and the Falcons coming up, so
that's a lot.
It's a huge rivalry.
So okay, let's take a look at this. You have the Falcons next, then you have the Bucks for the second time this year.
Okay.
The Panthers after that. And I think there's this team, maybe the 49ers sandwiched in between two games with the Panthers.
I think so. But this is going to be a tough stretch. This is going to be nothing but divisional games for the Saints.
Falcons 1-7. One more loss. They can't have a winning season. The Bucks have now lost 3 straight. The Panthers are realistically the only team out there that can compete with the Saints at this point.
But then again, if you look at Carolina's performance against San Francisco, yes, Carolina has showed plenty of improvement, especially with Kyle Allen at quarterback. Kyle Allen has been playing lights out. Ron Rivera looks like he's pretty much going to keep his job, and he's bringing back the persona of Riverboat Ron. But on the other side of the spectrum, their performance against the San Francisco 49ers, the Panthers proved that they're not ready to compete against the upper echelon teams like, of course, San Fran, like New England, like New Orleans. I mean, they're going to play New Orleans tough, but I won't be able to see them finish against a team like the Saints.
Yeah. So, can we say that the Saints hypothetically, they get to 12-1? They wrap up the South there at 12-1.
Well, I mean, if the Panthers slip up anytime within the next few weeks, the Saints might be able to wrap up the division at 11-1.
Sure.
I could probably even go that far.
I think that's a little bit of a surprise for most people. I know a lot of people thought that this division would be a lot more competitive, but the Saints are the ones sitting at the top with just 1 loss on the year. And that 1 loss was to the Rams in a game that Drew Brees went down for 5 weeks.
And look how the Rams are doing. So
yeah.
Poor Aqib Talib. That's all I got to say. Aqib Talib has been sent to the Night's Watch, ladies and gentlemen. Please send your prayers to him.
Okay. All right. Thanks for watching. We enjoyed recording this show, and we hope you join us next week when we cover the Saints and LSU versus their respective teams. You can follow us on Facebook or check out our website at aisportsnetwork.com. See you next week.